Welcome back everybody to another review of games that are currently free on Epic Games Launcher Store. This series is all about helping you guys decide whether or not these games are worth your time investment, or if you missed the chance to grab it for free, your money investment. It's usually been a while since these games have been reviewed on other channels, so here we take a look at these games to see if they still compare to other titles you may already own. The first game we're going to look at together this week is Railway Empire. Railway Empire is labeled as a tycoon simulation game that was released on January 26, 2018 for PC and on January 30th, 2018 for PS4 and Xbox One. Railway Empire received a mixed bag of reviews. On Metacritic, the user review is fairly low, but for Steam and Google, users seem to generally enjoy this game. As always though, we're going to take a look at actual gameplay from my perspective to see if it's worth your time investment. Before we get into the video though, make sure to like, subscribe, and comment down below what you all think of Railway Empire. Also, make sure to check out other videos on my channel here as I post reviews for all of the free games that release on Epic Games Launcher. To be completely honest with you all, I've hardly ever played tycoon games because they aren't really usually the type of games that I like. The gameplay always feels really slow to me in these types of games, and I'd much rather spend my time playing something else. Really, these games feel like something you should just be playing on your mobile device passively instead of playing them on your PC, but honestly that's just my opinion. Railway Empire is another one of those games that didn't look very appealing to me based on the trailers and description offered to us on the Epic Games Launcher. And right off the bat, if you're not a fan of simulation tycoon games, you probably won't like this one either. Even as a young fan of Thomas the Tank Engine toys, this game did not satisfy my railway building desires. I'd rather bust out the tracks and trains I have left over from those days and play that than this tycoon game. As you all can already tell, I didn't really care much for this game, but let's go ahead and get into the details as why. Probably the most redeeming factor in the game are the graphics to me. For a top-down world-building map, the graphics are great, the engine models are incredibly detailed, and so are the cities that you're able to connect together with your train tracks. In fact, you're able to zoom in on these cities and see detailed buildings and tiny little people moving along in the cities, and that's really impressive to me as the scope of this game is rather large. The game also captures the geography of the United States very accurately. The tutorial itself takes place in the Great Plains and moves from flat plains to the Rocky Mountains as you get closer to Denver, Colorado. And that's really cool in a game that strives for realism even in its gameplay. The story of Railway Empire has you doing a multitude of different things in it. There isn't really one cohesive story that you follow, instead you'll be jumping around time periods from 1830 to 1930 to take on different railway competitors. One section of the game even has you playing during the Civil War to figure out how to get supplies to where they need to be during battle. You're also able to choose from a selection of 4 different game modes to play. The game offers a campaign that, like mentioned before, puts you in different time periods with different areas of the United States with different competitors. Free mode allows you to build whatever you want with some goals to complete, but you're still restricted by money. Scenario mode has you taking on the challenges of the campaign, but with your own selectable characters that have different buffs through the gameplay. And finally, there's a sandbox mode that lets you generally build whatever you want with no money restrictions. But yeah, that's basically it. There's not a whole lot of story in this game. The game offers a campaign that, like mentioned before, puts you in different time periods with different areas of the United States with different competitors. Free mode allows you to build whatever you want with some goals to complete, but you're still restricted by money. Scenario mode has you taking on the challenges of the campaign, but with your own selectable characters that have different buffs through the gameplay. And finally, there's a sandbox mode that lets you generally build whatever you want with no money restrictions. But yeah, that's basically it. There's not a whole lot of story in this game. The gameplay of Railway Empires is where I had problems with it. In my opinion, the tutorial does not do a good enough job to explain all the complexities that come with the game, and trying to figure it out is what really put me off from it. When I say that the game strives for realism, I mean it. Railway Empires does an incredible job at including all of the complexities in the railway system. Because of this, I often found myself incredibly confused even with a directional video and voice acted guides on what to even do. I had to restart the game at one point as the game glitched and would not let me progress even while following the directions. But let me explain to you, the best of my ability, how the game works. You start out by building a station in a town and then another station where you'd like the railway to go. You're then able to connect the two together with railways. Then you're able to buy your trains and engines, and along the railway you even have to build supply stations for your trains to keep operating. Later on in the game you also have to build maintenance buildings at your train stations in order to keep the trains in good shape. Another important aspect is to build side railways and switches so that if you have multiple trains running, they won't run into each other while carrying supplies. But probably the most confusing section of the game was setting what your railway system is. You're able to select the towns you want included in your railway system, but the game really doesn't explain to you very well how to optimize this system. Whenever I connected more than 2 towns together, I had problems understanding how in the world to set my railway system to include the other towns, or if I was even supposed to. Also, you can select each town to see what sorts of resources it needs to grow. Once you figure this out, you're able to connect that city to the resources scattered throughout the world by building more railway stations next to the resources. You have to do all this while maintaining your money so that you're able to expand your railway even more. Now, this is basically all that I understood from the game, and in the end, I found it rather boring. I spent way too much time trying to even figure out just that much, and that's what I believe is the major problem with the game. To be honest though, I could just be unable to comprehend the complexities of the game though. So what are my final thoughts on the game? If you're able to understand the complexities of the railway system, or you want to learn about the railway system, then you may enjoy this game. Personally, I have little desire to invest my time in a game that's this complex. I also am just not a fan of tycoon or sim games, and this game did little to change my mind on that. I was impressed though by just how realistic the game might be towards the railway system as well as the graphics, but that paired with the confusing UI, it did not do enough for me. I want to end by starting something new on the series though. I have 2 tests that I'm going to start doing for each game that I review. First test we have is whether or not I'm going to even keep these games downloaded on my PC. And secondly, we have a test for those who missed their opportunity to grab the game for free. It's called the $1 per hour test. Basically, this means that for every $1 you spend, you will be willing to invest 1 hour for that $1. So if a game costs $10, would it be worth investing at least 10 hours into the game? And if you're able to easily invest 20 hours worth of time into a game worth $10, then it's a fantastic game. So for Railway Empire, will I keep the game downloaded on my PC? To be honest, I've already deleted it off my machine. It's a game I'll never play again, so it's just taking up space on my PC. Now, the $1 per hour test. Currently, the game is $30 on the Epic launcher if you missed your opportunity to grab it for free before September 17th, 2020. So would it be worth investing at least 30 hours into the game? That depends on who you are, but for me, that's an absolute no. I've got a lot of better things to do than play this game for 30 hours. If you all like this video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to help me out. I'll see you all next time on Epic Game Reviews.